know I'm in love with journal articles. What else should you know about sources for this paper? You need to have at least one source that's from a different perspective than the other sources that you use. That's something that I'm requiring, but it's a really, really good habit to be in when you do research. It's just a quick anecdote about a time when I didn't follow my own rules for doing research. When the Twin Towers were attacked in 2001, like a lot of Americans, I really didn't know much about the organization, the Taliban, that the hijackers belonged to, or the country that they had operated from. I got a book about Afghanistan by somebody whose name was vaguely familiar to me, and I read it. And after I finished it, I was talking about what I had learned with a friend, and I said, "Isn't it strange how Afghanistan just invited the Soviet Union in?" And my friend said the Soviet Union wasn't invited in. Turned out the book I'd read was from a pro-communist perspective. Now, that didn't mean the book was worthless. It was excellent on misdeeds of the United States, but anything bad that the Soviet Union did was either not in the book or portrayed in the most positive way possible. I needed to be aware of the bias and compare it with sources from another perspective, something I hadn't done in this instance. If you're reliant on only one source, as I was in this instance, you're really at the mercy of that source's perspective. If you use multiple sources and multiple perspectives, you're protected. Other than scholarly articles and books, what sources are acceptable? I know a lot of professors do hate Wikipedia, and so you always have to be careful before you use it. But I use Wikipedia, at least when I don't know much about a subject, right at the start. So for this paper, I encourage you to use it. I encourage you to list it in the bibliography, but it doesn't count as one of those four sources. I don't know if you've ever had a teacher like this. My high school social studies teacher graded our research papers basically as to whether we could use APA format correctly for our citations. You got a certain number of points off if the comma wasn't in front of the date and stuff like that. That's not what I want you to be paying attention to. So I care very much that you cite. I care very much that I can tell and any reader can tell where you got your information from, but I don't care how you cite it. We'll talk more about when you need to cite as we get deeper into the course. But for now, I'd say just keep track of where your information is from as you start your research, right from the beginning of your research, and that'll save you from having to go back afterwards and track down your sources. The most important takeaways: find a topic that you're really, really interested in. Start early, and maybe most important, consult me as often as you would like. I'm requiring you to do a rough draft and turn that into me. That doesn't mean I won't read other drafts. I'd be happy to. That doesn't mean you can't ask me questions. I mean, you're writing the paper for a class. I'd much rather you ask than that you start getting frustrated, you feel like you're doing research and you're just not getting anywhere.